Here I am, 2 years ago. So I thought it would be a wonderful idea to stop and pause on this first Sunday in November, just like we did last year. And how many of you were here last year when we did this kind of talking? There were several of you that were here, so that's cool. So I just want to open it up and have a discussion about, what have we learned? What have we learned over the past year in spiritual community or just in life in general? What have we learned? And before we get into sharing what you've learned, I want to talk about some things that I've learned over this second year of ministry with you. It's been a year of tremendous growth and change for me personally, and for us as a community, quite frankly. And I've kind of had to work hard to narrow it down to just the 3 things that I want to share with you this morning that I've learned. So the first thing I want to say is that I have learned this year that intentions are very, very powerful, especially when 2 or more people gather and share an intention. So a year ago, when we did this, we were holding a very, very powerful intention as a community to have a 24/7 spiritual home, to be in a building, something like this one. In our minds, we were holding that. And here we are, and we kept aligning our choices with that powerful intention over and over again. We spoke our word and we kept aligning, and it became manifested in physical form easily, and not without effort, but with grace and ease. And this intention was powerful because it was infused with a ton of love. There was love of each other, there was love of this community, there was love of possibility, there was love of God. And we held that. We wanted to have this space so that we could share what we have together with more people in different ways. And so we held that intention, and it manifested. You have taught me that we as a spiritual family have the power to manifest what we deeply desire. And we didn't stop with a building. What I know is that we can continue to create what we want to experience in spiritual community together. For example, Brittany wanted more creativity. That's her love, that's her passion. And she began to teach pour classes, acrylic pour classes, which many of us traveled to do with her. And we're like, no, let's bring this creativity inside the walls of our community. Let's do some things together. And so we together in Brittany's vision created this piece of art that quite wonderfully we voted to let her name, which is awesome. And it hangs there as a symbol of this creativity that was held in Brittany's intention. And this, yes, and art journaling. Brittany will see this video. She's with the children this morning. But she held that intention, and then this art journaling came out of it. And many of us have done that experience together with creativity and paint and glue and sticky stuff. And it's just amazing. If you haven't done it, do it. It's wonderful. It's a spiritual experience and creativity that Brittany's vision has manifested. And Hans, he's not here this morning, but he had a vision of a men's group. He stepped forward in that spoken word and that intention, and he created that. He started it, and it will continue as long as other people join their energy with Hans's to have this amazing men's powerful group. I hope you go on the hike. If I was a man, I would go on the hike. Maybe I'll crash the hike. We'll see. But it's exciting to watch someone rise up out of the community and say, this is what I want, and we do it. But we manifest in other ways too. Lori Salvador, she works tirelessly for us. And Lori, I could not have done the past 2 years without you. I didn't know I was going to stop and say that, but I couldn't have. But at any rate, she wanted easier ways to make coffee. She was constantly running to Office Depot or Staples or wherever you go. And we manifested the commercial printer that's in our conference room, a gift from our landlords. We manifested that. But I hold Lori as the core holder of that intention. Like, I need this, and it manifested. So we're powerful. So what do you want to do in spiritual community? Whatever it is you do want to do, step forward, speak your word, gather intentional energy around you, and we can create anything. It's a great lesson for me to really learn in this community over the past year. The second lesson that I want to share that I learned is that the only constant thing in ministry is change. It's change. People change, circumstances change, goals change, ideas change. It's changing. And underneath all of the change, there's one constant, and that is spirit. I shared a reading at the practitioner meeting this week by an author named Panache Desai. If you've not read Panache Desai, Discovering Your Soul Signature, it's an amazing book, and maybe I'll make it a book club book in the future. But I read from him, and I want to share a piece of what I read. And it says, a shift in energy is always followed by a change in reality. It must. We are energetic beings, and so when we shift energy within us, our reality must change. So everything is constantly moving and changing, and when energy changes, reality changes. And so, no matter how twisty the road gets, as it winds itself in and out and through so many changes underneath all of it, God simply is. And when I anchor myself in a divine connection, under the sea of change, I anchor down in to divine love. I can remember that in every moment, no matter what is showing up on the surface, or whatever's coming in, whatever's leaving at that moment, I can firmly stand on the spiritual foundation of truth and love, and so can you. So my job is to remind myself and to remind you that God is at the base of every structure, every experience that we're having, every moment of life. Individually, I must remind myself of that, and collectively, we must remind ourselves of that. Changes come and go, but God remains the constant presence and power in our lives. And my job is also to listen to that whisper that constantly urges me to love and to relax and to accept and to allow all of the change around me to happen. And as your minister, I believe it is my role, one of the roles that I play in your life, is to encourage your evolution by calling forth from you your bravery. I didn't know she was singing that song, but your bravery and your faith. That no matter what's going on in your life, God is at the center of it. You are bigger. You are bigger than your fear. You are bigger than your circumstances. You're bigger than your structures. You're bigger than your family. You're bigger than your diagnosis. You're bigger than your challenges. You're bigger than your relationships. You're bigger than your job. You are bigger than your situation that you're in. Quite frankly, your entire human experience, you are bigger than that. Your life is going to change. It's your job to figure out how consciously aware you want to be during those changes, and how much power do you want to have in the changes that you're having in your life. And this year has taught me that as I go through my own changes in my life, I want you around me. I want the spiritual community to hold me and support me as I move through my changes, and I want that for you too. That's why our cars come here on Sunday morning, is because here is where we are held and supported in all that life has to offer us. And the third thing this year has illustrated to me more than any other year before this one is that a white stone word is powerful. Stop giggling, Barley. So for those of you who don't know what a white stone word is, we have a ceremony that closes out the old year and brings in the new year. And it involves a ritual that involves writing a word, inscribing a word on a white stone for ourselves. That's our kind of word of the year. So during that ritual, at the beginning of this year, I wrote a word on my stone. And what I wrote on my stone was the word transformation. Now, I must admit, when I wrote that word on the stone, I was actually writing it for y'all. I was writing it for the community because we were kind of on the edge of stepping into finding this home, and I knew the community would change a lot and transform with a 24/7 home. I'd seen that in other communities. I knew what was coming for us. So a transformation was coming. So I thought, I'll just claim that on the word, and won't I be smart, right? Yeah, so I thought I was claiming transformation for all of us, but Spirit had a much, much bigger idea for me. And this year has been one of tremendous self-transformation in my personal life. So some of those changes are very visible to you. You may have watched as I shed about 35 pounds off of my physical structure, as I transformed my relationship with my own body. You've watched that. You may have witnessed the transformation over the summer of all the major relationships in my life, including my life partner and my daughter and my mother and my daughter's mother, and basically all the major relationships in my life have completely transformed this year, just to name a few. You may remember that recently I transformed my work life, and I took on this new organizational position with the Centers for Spiritual Living International. And so those were some of the outer changes that you could kind of see happening for me as your minister. And I so appreciate your willingness to kind of witness this transformation that I'm having. But there are big inner changes going on that are less visible, and they're still kind of churning within me. And again, I shared some of this with the practitioners this week, but what is happening for me is that my entire self-identity is transforming, and it has been transforming in this year of 2019, and I cannot quite claim that it's done yet. It's still working in there. But I want to share with you something that I've become more aware of, and that is that probably my whole life, but at least for the last couple of decades, I have been creating a veneer of my life, a picture of my life, if you will, an outer picture that is an illusion. But I thought that if I could make a pretty picture out of my life, that perhaps the people around me would not notice my vulnerability, would not notice perhaps my disabled daughter, or would not notice that I was still growing or that I hadn't healed everything, that if I could make the picture pretty enough, I would be acceptable. That if I lived in the right home and I wore the stylish clothes and I had the cutest dog in the world, which I do have the cutest dog in the world, it's official. But if everything looked really pretty, then perhaps my evolutionary process would not be so visible. And what I have faced this year for the first time in a very long time is that I cannot hide from the inner God. I cannot hide from my highest self. I still have to be me. And so I have begun to allow that pretty picture, that the structures around me, to kind of melt a little bit and to say, you know what, I want to be me. I'm me. And maybe it's because I'm having a midlife crisis. I don't know. But I know, I can tell you that I'm praying like a crazy person to uncover within me my truest identity as I do this transformation. And when I wrote that word, transformation, on that white stone in December or January, whenever it was, I signaled to the universe that I was ready. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to allow such an experience to happen on my path. I was ready to go back into the proverbial cocoon and allow that DNA meltdown to happen so that I could transform into a lighter version of myself and hopefully a more evolved version of me. Maybe a little lighter, maybe a little more beautiful, maybe a little more free, you know? So my biggest request to all of you as my spiritual family is to please pray for and with me as I sprout these wings, or whatever it is I'm going to become, who knows. And my message to you really is to be very mindful when we do the White Stone ceremony, December 29th. It's a powerful spiritual experience you don't want to miss, but be really mindful that the word that you claim for yourself can be incredibly powerful. So, those are the 3 things that I've learned. And I'm interested in seeing what you have learned and what questions you have as well. And how we did this last year is I just kind of opened up the floor. So you wrote on these pink pieces of paper. Do you want to give me yours?
I do, but you can bury it.
Okay, I won't know it's yours. But so as you wrote on these pink pieces of paper, you became aware of something you've learned. And so I want to just open it. Does anybody want to share? Last year, about three of us shared, besides me. What did you learn? What did you learn? Anybody want to share? Anybody, come on. Don't be brave, or I'm going to start reading them, and then you have to kind of claim them. What did you learn? Vicki?
Well, I passed out from dehydration and ended up in the hospital a couple days ago for just a night, and realized that as I was losing consciousness, well, I didn't realize it at that time. I realized it once I regained consciousness, that it was kind of lights out, and what was left was Ryan and my kids and my life, and it all would have gone on without me had I not regained consciousness. And it just, I've always been aware of my mortality, but it just gave me deeper recognition of, did I say I love you as I was passing out? What was the last thing that I did that was significant? And so it makes it more important that every moment is significant. Because you don't know.
You don't know. So what I hear from that, Vicki, is this. What you've learned and what we all learn in spirituality is that life matters, that our souls are here to have an experience. And a lot of our human experience has to do with relating to other human beings. And that when all is said and done, how much love did we run in our lives? How much love energy did we express and allow in? And I think that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah. What else? What did you learn this year?
I learned that no matter what, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, and I should be saying I, but I'm a part of the we, there's always more. There's always more to life. There's always more to do. There's always more to think. There's always bigger, broader openings for who I am. I think I've gotten that before, but somehow it just smacked me back in the face this year. Always more for me to do and be.
Yeah. And you just walked the Camino,
Yes,
and
I did.
if you don't know, Barley's legally blind, and so she went to Spain and walked the Camino, which is an amazing thing to do anyway, but to do it with a seeing eye daughter.
Only because you weren't there, my seeing eye minister wouldn't go.
Well, I would have gone, but I wasn't invited.
Next year we'll redo that.
Yeah, I think Australia's on the list.
It is.
But no, I think that that's a really big lesson to step into, Barley, that there's always more. You're never going to be done. So Spirit's always going to be tapping you and whispering to you, grow, do more, see, be, experience. And the more in a rut you are, the less you're listening to that. If your life looks the same as it did last year, wake up. Wake up. Wake up and grow. Wake up and evolve. Wake up and try things. Wake up and do more. Wake up and walk the Camino. Or whatever it is that sparks you. But allow yourself to be sparked. Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Barley. Ryan,
Maybe we should take the whole group with us next
to
year.
Australia?
There you go.
I'm ready.
Yeah, let's go to Australia. I'll go. Ryan, did you want to share?
Well, I learned something from Vicky's episode, and that is kissing
a person when they're having an episode isn't necessarily a legitimate medical treatment.
Does not
But
revive
if
them.
it's the last thing you're going to do, I'm okay with it.
That's not what Snow White says. Or Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, we were trying every angle we could.
So the power of a kiss. Yeah, let's all remember that this year. That's awesome. One last one, Marissa.
I think one of the things that I've been learning since I've started coming here, and I talk about this in my member of the week, but just acceptance and letting other people accept me, and has allowed me to accept myself. And then what a springboard that is to be in that space of self-acceptance and all the growth that comes from that. I don't think I can even verbalize it, how much I've changed, because I've allowed, and it's been here, that I've come, and when people were so happy to see me, I believed that they were really happy to see me, instead of saying, oh, they don't care. And that's used to be a place that I operated from, was no one cares, so coming here and allowing that to happen and accepting myself in the process, and it's like the sky's the limit, that's how I feel, and that's what I've been learning. It's been unfolding, but now I'm on the other side of that. I'm on like the springboard, like what's in store, what's ahead, and I'm just so hopeful and excited,
I love that, Marissa. And I do remember when you first came in. I do remember. And I have seen a tremendous transformation in the opening of yourself to others. And now you're a greeter, and that's an amazing role for you because you are so open to others. And I think that that's a lesson for all of us too. We come in the building and we bring our gunk in. We bring our stuff in. We bring our beliefs about ourselves in. And we do think that nobody really cares if I'm here or not. Laine's just going, oh, everybody, she doesn't really care if I'm here. No, I miss you when you're not here. I miss you when you're not here. I do, don't I, Norma?
Yes.
I miss you when you're not here. And when Spirit taps on me, I'll message you, I'll text you. I'll say, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. I miss you. You are missed when you're not here. And I know that because you'll come up to me and say, hey, have you seen so-and-so? I haven't seen them. And I'm like, no, and we do miss them. So you matter here. And that's a beautiful thing. And so my vision of spiritual community is that we do matter to each other. We really do go through life together. We celebrate the fun stuff together, and we also weather the things that are challenging during life, and we do that with each other. I said to the practitioners the other day, if not now, when? If you're not going to grow now, when are you going to grow? If you're not going to show up and be a magnificent part of something, when are you going to do it? Why not here? Why not now? I mean, there's a lot of love in the room. So thank you. And I can't wait to look and read everything that everyone wrote about what you learned. But I'm going to try to answer these questions. I'm looking at the time, so I want to be mindful that you can't be here forever. So even though I want to sometimes. So the question on this particular piece of paper is, what motivates or inspires you? What motivates and inspires me? What motivates and inspires me is growth and evolution. When I witness someone having a breakthrough, someone pushing beyond something they thought they could never do or be, that inspires me. And knowing that that is possible here motivates me. It motivates me to do my spiritual practice. It motivates me to be as present here as I can possibly be, to craft a talk that will open a heart or open a door or send a flash bulb off, a light bulb, like, an awakening or looking at life in a new way. So, spiritual evolution is what motivates and inspires me. Great question. Can I get a list of the music she listens to and shares with us? Yeah, you can actually. First of all, whoever wrote that, come ask me, and I have a list of, from the Beyond Limits class, there's a list of music that is a part of that class that I have. I can just actually give you that list really quickly. But I listen to a lot of New Thought music. I do listen to Daniel Nahmod. I do listen to Stefan Mitchell. I listen to Karen Drucker. I listen to Faith Rivera. I listen to Gary Lynn Floyd. Holy crap, if you don't know Gary Lynn Floyd, just play him on your Alexa. Just ask Alexa to play Gary Lynn Floyd for you. Amy Bishop, if you don't know Amy Bishop, she's a magnificent New Thought musician. But then I listen to a lot of songs. Yeah, music. My playlist is very eclectic. I listen to jazz, but I also listen to rock. I just love music. So I listen to like oldies, like the Carpenters and the Eagles and stuff like that too. I'm a child of the late 70s, early 80s. I went to college in the 80s, so that's my kind of music genre. But I listen to a wide range of music. So if music's your thing, I'm good to go to a concert too. So there you have it. Music is important, and it shifts my energy very much.
Laine, excuse me, does our newsletter list all the songs that are played that week?
No.
Maybe that would be something to add to it.
Laura, you want to do that? We certainly compiled the list. We know the songs that were sung before, and that actually might be a very good way to share some music. The original artist, and then who performed it. Yes, ma'am.
I was just thinking you could have a weekly playlist.
A weekly
Robert
playlist.
Laine's weekly playlist.
Yeah. I have time to compile that.
Oh, I'm
No. But I think listing the songs would be an amazing beginning to that, and that would be pretty easy to do, wouldn't it, Lori? That would be pretty easy. Good suggestion, Wes. Yeah. And I will, while we're on the subject of music, I love the music program. I love the fact that every Sunday is somebody different. So if you absolutely hate the music this Sunday, don't worry, it's going to be different next Sunday. And I'm booking music into 2020. So if you have a local artist, if you hear music out in the world, if you're in a restaurant and you hear a great musician, get their card. Ask them while you're there, hey, do you have a Sunday gig? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I love bringing in new local music, so please gather good musicians to me. And they just need to be able to work with me on songs that are uplifting and inspiring, but as you know, we do pop music and other things. So be my ambassadors to find musicians.
Is there compensation for them?
Yes, there is compensation, and we work that out individually with each artist. And most musicians like a Sunday service because Vicki can tell you that most of the time she's singing, there are people eating and talking and not paying attention to her. And most musicians are performers and they want to be paid attention to. Right, Sally? We want to be listened to. So most musicians are happy to do a Sunday morning because you're not drunk and you're listening.
Yes.
And sometimes we dance. That's right. What new ideas are bubbling up in this moment? What new ideas are bubbling up? I have a couple of them for the center, I'm assuming, not just ideas in general, but for the center. One idea that actually Ellen and I have been talking about quite a bit is doing something in Ybor, perhaps in a restaurant in Ybor or something where we have a spiritual dialogue, perhaps, what do we call spirituality outside the box or something? We've been playing around with names of it, just kind of creating some ideas about how to get out into the community more. We've talked about maybe going to a movie and then meeting an Ybor to discuss the movie, something, I don't know. So that's an idea that's kind of popping up. Another idea that's bubbling in my mind is to do a midweek kind of a tune-up thing. Instead of a class, having a dialogue on perhaps Wednesday nights where we look back at the message from Sunday and we talk about like how do we apply that in our lives and what questions did you want to ask on Sunday, but there really isn't an opportunity for much of this during a Sunday service. So doing some different things like that. But let me just say this, I'm one person, you are all of you. Mm-hmm. I'm one person. So one of the things we have to remember is we don't have a staff here. So Lori and I are pretty much the only people that are on the payroll here, and the bandwidth to do a lot of extra things is a lot. And so we need volunteers, we need people with ideas to say, not only do I have this idea, but I'm willing to make it happen. I'm willing to help, I'm willing to carry the idea and make sure that all the details about the idea are carried through. So I have ideas, but I'm happy to hear your ideas too, especially if you're willing to make them happen. Okay, this is a good question. What would the center like for Christmas this year? What would the center like for Christmas? Like a Christmas gift? Wow. You know, bored? That wasn't I'm bored, it was asking the board, like, do you have ideas? I don't know of anything major that we need for Christmas, physical, tangible things, but end of year giving is very important to centers, I will say that. We usually have a lovely end of year giving generosity that rises out of all of the giving that you give at the end of the year to charity or whatever. It is very welcome here, we'll say that. You know, one of the things, we have lots of little things that would be lovely, and as this is our home, it's your home too, so if you, maybe we could create a wish list or something of little things that we might love. And if you notice things that would make your experience here better, like one idea I had was perhaps we need a second coffee pot to make decaf coffee because some people don't want caffeine, and I thought that might be a nice thing. But if you notice things that would make your experience here better, let's get them on a wish list. And perhaps we can hang a stocking or something, Barley, and get,
I'm taking notes.
as, you know, for people to give, you know, holiday donations to us or whatever to go towards those kinds of things. So this says the center. You didn't ask me what I want for Christmas. But there, let's take a run with that, Barley, and make that something that happen with that. What has been your most profound experience with our teaching? Ernest Holmes taught three basic things. He taught that God is all there is. He taught that we co-create our experiences with our thoughts. And he taught the concept of unity in the Golden Rule, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. And so I would say the most profound experiences I have had with this teaching have been related to the concept that we co-create our lives and the ability that I have demonstrated over and over again to manifest things that matter to me, that I wanted to have. I've manifested pretty much any kind of physical thing, possession or experience that I wanted to have. But I think the most profound things that I have manifested are internal, transformational kinds of things in relationships, especially. I've really invited Spirit to be a part of so many big things in my life. And I don't know that I could say one thing is the most profound, but I can tell you that if you met me, if you knew me in 2000, before I found the Science of Mind, before I found this teaching, and you compared that version of Laine to this one, you wouldn't know me. You wouldn't know me. I was still very bitter from a relationship ending. I was non-forgiving. I was judgy. I was limited in so many ways. I was bound up by fear in so many ways. So I'm just a different person altogether. So whoever wrote that, if you want to talk more about it, I could give you some really interesting examples, but I will let that go at that. And so that's all the questions, unless anybody has the courage to just ask one, which is fine too. I'm happy to answer a question.
How'd you lose all that weight?
How did I lose the weight? That's a great question. I'll answer it. What happened was I got really sick last Christmas Day, and like profoundly vomiting sick. You don't want any more description than that. I was sick. And I realized in that sick moment that my life was so far out of balance. I was way out of whack with my body. And I started praying for an answer, literally. Like, God, I'm open to an answer. I'm open to a solution, an experience that's different. And on New Year's Day, I was on Facebook, as I want to be, and there was a message from a minister friend of mine named Ed Tansey. Hi, Ed. And he put on Facebook, "This is me 1 year after being on Bright Line eating." Okay, so he had lost like 100 and some pounds. And I'm like, Bright Line eating? I've never heard of such an animal. I thought I knew all the weight loss things in the world. No, I didn't. And so I looked it up, and turns out it's a Hay House publication, which means Louise Hay's stamp of approval was on it, which she's not, she's gone now, she's made her transition, but her company is very, very rigid about what they will publish. So I knew it had something to do with spirituality, so because it was a minister friend that recommended it, I ordered it. It came like, you know how Amazon can just like poof, there it is. I think it was like January 2nd, I had it, and I read it. And on January 6th, January 5th, I looked at Becky and said, "I'm gonna do this, will you do it with me?" And she's like, "Sure, whatever." I'm like, no, this is radical, will you do it? She's like, "I'll eat whatever you put in front of me." I'm like, okay, let's get some bins. And we cleaned everything out of our house that had sugar or flour in the top 3 ingredients. Top 3 ingredients gone. So I significantly eliminated sugar and flour from my diet until my birthday in June, and then I had cake. But so the weight dropped off, but there's a spiritual component to the eating plan and all of that, so it's really, really cool. So I highly recommend it. It's not for the faint of heart, and it's not for the casual dieter, but it certainly changed my life, and I loved it very much. So we'll see. But Randy knows I now eat donuts, so he plays into that weakness. So there you go. There you go. Bright Line eating. Bright Line eating. It's based on the concept of 12 steps, and you know, in AA, for example, there's a bright line around alcohol. You know, alcoholics don't have beer on their birthday or whatever. So bright line means that I don't cross that line. So I don't live bright line eating as much as I used to, but it was great. It was 6 to 8 months, so that changed my life. So anyway, take a deep breath. And so it is. And so it is. So we begin year 3 together. We begin year 3. So let's make it a magnificent year. And thank you. Thank you for your love and support. It's been a great day already. I've gotten anniversary cards, thank you, and peanut M&Ms, which is awesome. And I appreciate that. It was a platinum love moment, wasn't it, Kat?